Well, welcome back. This is Stocks to Watch as we explore American Tungsten, the company building America's defense critical metal supply, trading on the CSE under TUNG, the OTCQB under DEMR, and the FSE under RK9. We have the privilege to be joined by Ali Haji, the CEO, to kind of discuss the projects in the recent news. But first and foremost, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kyle. Pleasure to be here.
A pleasure to get you back on. And I just want to dive into this. You guys recently closed a private placement in the amount of 7 million, which was up from the 2.5 million announced previously. But maybe tell us a bit about the IMA mine itself and kind of this cash raise.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Absolutely. The IMA Mine is a past producer, so it was in production till about 1958. It was the fourth largest producer of tungsten in North America, so very prominent producer of tungsten in North America up until about 1956. We've had some other operators, including Inspiration Development, which is Anglo-American, do about 12,000 feet of drilling up until 1982. And then we had Gentor go in between 2008 2010 and do about 25,000 feet of additional drilling. So 57,000 feet drilled, historical production, about 700 tons of metal. Based on the resource that we have an indication on from Gentor, it's about 1.2 million ton. And we expect to use that capital that we've just raised here to do the twinning of those holes to validate that and make that a 43101 compliant resource. But of course, grow the profile of the asset as well, using some of the Gentor data, including the rock and channel sampling that they did within the adits.
Yeah, and speaking to that 43101, that technical report, which outlined multiple drill-ready targets, including the extension of the number 5 and 7 veins, the West IMA veins, the Eastern vein system, and the main vein below the historic working. Can you kind of elaborate on the hidden potential those veins offer?
Of course, you look at the asset and you see the vein system run through it. 57,000 feet is a lot of data. A lot of that was actually done prior to digital records commenced in today's environment. So we had to go through the path of digitizing that data, building our 3D geological model and having a look at where we think those veins extend. The exploration program will ultimately serve to prove that theory and ultimately allow us to put out an updated resource statement, thereby increasing the life of mine rather significantly, I should say.
Now, looking at those funds themselves, do you want to kind of discuss how they're going to be allocated and kind of what your priorities are across these different veins and just the project itself?
Of course. So the primary objective today is to rehabilitate the portals, the infrastructure in terms of road and entryways, clear the adits of any debris, ensure that they are safe for individuals to go on in, create some pads for our drilling operations to commence, as well as run water, air, and fuel through the manways that connect the D level and the zero level adits. So the vast majority of the funds will be used for drilling exercises. We intend to do about 10,000 feet of drilling this summer into the fall, and then put out an updated resource statement thereafter, showing a longer life of mine that ultimately can supply anywhere between 8 to 16% of the tungsten requirement in the United States.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. But maybe just discuss a little bit about the amount of cash you have in totality with the recent raise. Maybe just discuss kind of how long it's going to take you as well.
Yeah, so we've got over 7 million, so close to 8, I would say. And that's more than sufficient to get our program off the ground. We had envisioned sort of doing a 4 million Canadian program over the course of this summer. We've raised 7, so we have a buffer of about 3 million in cash. That 3 million will be spent on various activities, including metallurgy testing and ensuring that we have the right strategy to bring this thing online. But of course, we will be spending a tiny bit on marketing. It's important that people understand our story. We've only been around for 2 years. And I think the topical and thematic nature of tungsten is one that is gaining a lot of traction in the market today. So we've got to tell our story. And we've got to start to advance some of the conversations we're having with the various government agencies. So engaging with the right lobbyists to make sure that they are looking at us in terms of a potential to bring production online on the tungsten space before anybody else in North America.
Now, speaking to critical metals, obviously there's a lot of government attention on it right now, but are you finding there's any bottlenecks or challenges you're currently facing when it comes to the development of these mines, or how are you dealing with them if there are any?
The biggest advantage we have at IMA is the fact that it's a private patented mine package or land package. It is a past producer. The entire resource is above the water table. We have no discharge from any of our adits. So the permitting process is extremely simple for us. The direct shipment of ore model that we look to utilize as a result of having the second highest ore in North America at 0.63. Our grades are economical if we were to do a DSO model, send it over to a contact mill, and then ultimately bring on an offtaker, which we're in the process of obtaining an LOI for. The capex associated with coming to production to the tune of 500 tons per day over 7.5 years with that 1.2 million tons that we have today is about 20 million. Of course, the economics around 500 tons per day with a 20 million capex, we believe to be quite fruitful. So we are working on an internal PEA. We'll, of course, advance that and share that with the market when it is available to share. But the economics are looking extremely sound. In terms of bottlenecks, the primary objective for us with this exploration program is to grow our resource and show a life of mine that is perhaps longer than 7.5 years. Back of the envelope, as management and as advisors, we have a number. We know what sits there, give or take, and we know how we can expand that. This drilling program will allow us to do so and ultimately kickstart the government agencies into releasing that non-dilutive capital.
Yeah, and I think you've given us a lot of idea of kind of the value looking ahead here, but maybe just kind of condense it in like three short statements. What makes American Tungsten a compelling investment opportunity today?
Fast producing private patented land with minimal permitting required, with DSO and the high grade that we expect to have, profitability would be expected in year one at a very low capex, ultimately adding 8 to 16% of tungsten requirement in the United States.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, but we will pass it off to the viewer at this point. We'd love to know what you guys think in that comment section below, but consider subscribing for news catalysts as it comes down the wire. Of course, we're going to bring it to you here. And if you want to learn more, we're going to leave the links, the website, everything else down in the description. But on that, as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.